Hi guys, just a little prologue for today's video. I was about to post it and then I was reading the news and there was this article about some moron flying his DJI Phantom or some other DJI product around an airplane. And so I just want to let you guys know, even though the stuff that I'm going to tell you in this video has been confirmed by legal counsel, just because something is legal doesn't mean that you should be doing it. And so just keep that in mind as you watch this video. You know, the rules still need to catch up when it comes to drones, and there's going to be a lot of regulations and there's going to be a lot of lawsuits as we go through this process as more and more people get drones. So just keep that in mind. Just use common sense when you're flying your drones, okay? Thanks and enjoy the video. So what are the rules when it comes to flying a drone for recreational or hobbyist pilots? And how do those rules compare to Part 107 or commercial pilots? I spent some time researching those topics, and in this video I'm going to talk mostly about the rules for hobbyist pilots. In order to keep my video relatively short, I'll do a future video about the rules for Part 107 or commercial pilots. So let's get to it. First of all, I'd like you guys to be aware that everything I'm stating in this video applies only to those of you living in the United States. I have researched nothing when it comes to international drone rules and regulations. Secondly, the purpose of this video is not to inform you guys on how to pass the Part 107 exam. There are literally 1.3 million YouTube videos out there on how to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a couple of good ones down in the description if that's what you're looking for. And so I'm hoping I can provide you guys with some new information and a comprehensive breakdown of current regulations. Now, when I first got my drone, the Mavic Pro, I had no intention or even knowledge of how to make money with it or making revenue with it. I was simply just looking for a hobby that I could do for the rest of my life. And I always had an interest in anything RC, remote control. And so a drone was a logical choice. But as I was flying it and learning more about it, I started to learn about all the different ways that you can make income with your drone. You know, things like real estate and land mapping, infrastructure inspections, and a whole lot of other stuff. And so I started learning about the Part 107 Remote Pilot Certificate, you know, also known as the drone license. You know, I have many friends that are realtors. I know some people in the oil industry. I have some connections in the wind industry. So, you know, I have the networking and I have the connections, but I need to get those credentials if I want to make any money doing it. And so that's why I considered studying for the Part 107 exam. And as I got deeper into researching it, I also wanted to know all of the rules that applied to hobbyist pilots, or also called Part 101. Now I want to inform you guys that the bulk of information that I'm about to present to you came from two different people, Jonathan Ruprecht and Peter Sachs. Now these guys are basically the mavens of drone law. They are attorneys who specialize in all things drones. I'm going to link both of their websites down below in the description, and I highly recommend checking them out, especially if you're looking at studying for the Part 107. But if you just want to learn about all of the regulations that apply to drones, I would check them out. Their websites are well organized and they're both very responsive in correspondence. Now, that being said, keep in mind that they are very busy, they are attorneys, and time is money. So don't expect an unlimited conversation, but I'm sure that they would answer a few questions if you sent them. So first of all, let's see the definition of the two current classifications of drone pilots. Simply put, Part 101 applies to hobbyist, non-commercial operators. Right now, this applies to the greatest majority of drone operators in the country. Most of you watching this right now probably fit in that category. Part 107 applies to commercial operators that may be flying their drone for revenue purposes. They want to make money, and so they get a Part 107 certificate. Now, in researching this, I want to share with you guys the most important thing that I learned. You know, I was concerned about getting my Part 107 license because I didn't want to have to abide by all the rules that go along with it. There's a lot more regulations and rules when you're flying as a 107 pilot. For instance, I like to fly at night, and you can't do that as a Part 107 pilot without obtaining a waiver, which I'll discuss in my video on Part 107. But the fact is, and this is very important, if you have a Part 107 certificate, you can still fly as a hobbyist under Part 101 regulations. Here's a quote from Mr. Ruprecht. Part 107 and 101 are hats we can wear and do our jobs under. We can switch them when needed. We aren't stuck with wearing only one hat. Just remember, you can't mix parts of your hats. It's either one or the other. So what that means basically that if you possess a Part 107 certificate, that you can fly as a hobbyist on one flight and then fly as a commercial pilot on the next. But you can't combine the two. If you do, you're under violation and you risk a hefty fine. The current fine for flying for the purpose of making money without a Part 107 certificate is $1,414 per occurrence. That's per violation, which means you could be violating several rules at once, which is very likely. For example, let's say you're flying over your local state fair and you're getting some footage of the people below and all of the rides and the concessions and everything, and you take a really nice picture of the Ferris wheel and you post that picture online with the Ferris wheel for sale, and FAA gets wind of it and they fine you $1,414 for every person that you flew over. Now, is the FAA going to find out about that? Probably not. Chances are not, because they just don't have the manpower to monitor stuff like that. Also, what I've read is that typically if you violate any FAA regulations as a hobbyist, the most likely scenario is that they're going to contact you and try to educate you on what you did wrong. You're probably not going to get a fine in the mail for $1 million. But for the sake of all drone pilots, enthusiasts, hobbyists, and drones in general, please abide by the rules. So let's take a look at the rules for recreational pilots. For Part 101, you must be operating a certain model aircraft. In the past, this just meant RC airplanes and helicopters and things like that, but this designation now includes UASs or drones. And the criteria for that are: it must be capable of sustained flight in the atmosphere. It must be flown within visual line of sight. It must be flown for recreational purposes only. It must weigh less than 55 pounds. It must not interfere with and always give way to any manned aircraft. And when flying within 5 miles of any airport, the operator must provide air traffic control with prior notice. Now, what exactly does prior notice mean? That's not very specific. It's not real clear on what that means. I mean, do you make an attempt and leave a message letting them know they're going to fly? Or do you actually have to have a conversation with someone and get permission? It's not real clear. Most importantly, the aircraft that you're flying must be operated in accordance with a community-based set of safety guidelines and within the programming of a nationwide community-based organization, or CBO. Right now, there's only one CBO, or community-based organization, that the FAA acknowledges, and that is the AMA, or the Academy of Model Aeronautics. Under Part 101, as a hobbyist, you must abide to their safety guidelines. Now, I'm going to post a link to that down in the description, but I just want to highlight a few things on here. First thing, and probably the most important thing, is item A2C. Now check this out. Model aircraft pilots will not fly higher than approximately 400 feet above ground level within 3 miles of an airport without notifying the airport operator. Yeah, that's right. As a hobbyist, if you are at least 3 miles away from an airport, you can fly as high as you want. Now remember that if you're within 5 miles, you still have to give prior notice that you're going to be flying, but let's say you're 5 miles beyond an airport, you don't have to contact them, and you can fly as high as you want. The 400 feet above ground level does not apply. So my thought here, however, is that just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should. The rules for drones have a lot of catching up to do, and common sense would suggest that flying that high just puts too many people at risk. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Another noteworthy rule here is in regards to night flying. Item B8 states, RC night flying requires a lighting system providing the pilot with a clear view of the model's attitude and orientation at all times. Now, the LED lights on the Mavic Pro and many other drones produced today would qualify under this definition. There is no legal reason for a hobbyist pilot to place aftermarket anti-collision lighting on your Mavic Pro or any other drone that has orientation LED lights. And the last one that I'd like to highlight here in the AMA safety code is paragraph B7. It states that hand catch landings are prohibited. Now that sounds silly, but until the laws catch up under Part 101 regulations, you cannot hand catch your drone. You can't hand catch your Mavic Pro or even your Spark, which is actually designed to be caught in your palm. Now, my guess is that this rule will be one of the first ones omitted as drone laws progress. So I'm not going to go through the rest of the AMA safety code here, but like I said, I'm going to post it down in the description, and it's a downloadable PDF, so you can go ahead and download it to your computer and save it there, or you can print it off for later use. But the point is, this single page sheet of paper is every rule that you must abide to as a hobbyist drone pilot. If you don't, you're in direct violation of current FAA guidelines. Now, just a couple more rules for Part 101. No person may operate model aircraft so as to endanger the safety of the national airspace system. Personally, I would label this one the golden rule. To me, this rule supersedes any and all other rules. If what you are doing is endangering the NAS, then you deserve to be reprimanded. It's pretty common sense. Finally, and once again, most recently this changed, you must register your drone with the FAA. There was a period there where you didn't have to because of a lawsuit, but now our current administration signed a new drone law that states you must register with the FAA. Now I'm going to wrap up this video because it's getting just a little bit long. So if you need to know how to register your drone, I'm going to link a video down in the description. You guys can click on that and watch that to see how to do it. So that's pretty much it. I shared a lot of information, but there's even more to learn about flying as a hobbyist drone pilot. And so I recommend checking out those two websites, download that AMA safety code, and read through that, make sure that you're abiding by all of the laws. Now let me remind you that everything that I just went over is as of December 2017, so I'm certain things will change as we go along, and as they do change, I'm going to post updated videos on them. I'm also going to make any changes in the description of this video. In my next video regarding this topic, I'm going to cover the rules that apply to Part 107 pilots and how they differ from those for Part 101 pilots. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you subscribe. If I provided anything of value or gave you some insight today, please click on that thumbs up, that like button. That really helps out this channel a lot. It makes me feel good and it makes you feel good too. I'm guessing there will be some questions and comments on this video, so feel free to leave those down in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you within 24 hours. Lastly, be sure to subscribe and join this incredibly interactive community in which we all learn from each other about drones, especially the Mavic Pro and the Spark right now. I sincerely want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, fly safe and fly smart.